Oh, when the Saints go marching in. Oh, when the Saints go marching in. Sean Payton's gone, Drew Brees is retired, and the Saints become the Aints. Everyone in New Orleans, I hope you're having a wonderful time, and hopefully you Saints fans can finally return to your paper bag head days. The Saints will return to the Aints, and you guys can just remember that you literally wasted Drew Brees' career, and all your window of opportunity for winning the Super Bowl is now gone. So all you Saints fans that have been obnoxious for over a decade about Drew Brees this and Drew Brees that and Drew Brees this can now just shut up. You can join the Patriots in the corner as we were great one time, but now you're going through the days of what is our identity. Hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and we're talking about the New Orleans Saints. Alrighty, New Orleans, the Saints. Oh boy. For those that know me, I believe every fan out there has a team that for whatever reason they just don't like. Whether it's the players, whether it's sorry, I gotta fix my mic here. Whether it's the players, whether it's the team, like Red Sox and Yankees fans hate each other. Ohio State, Michigan, they hate each other. Alabama, Auburn, Iron Bowl, they hate each other. And then there are some rivalries that just feel like it's not really a rivalry, you know. Yes, you can say Georgia Tech is a rivalry, but they don't have the same tension as an Auburn, Alabama, or a Michigan, Ohio State. Not even close. I mean, hell, even Mississippi versus Mississippi State is not considered, you know, a rivalry as the same impact as, you know, the other rivalries I mentioned before, Lakers and Celtics. That's a historic rivalry because it was between Magic and Bird and the Celtics and Lakers for the whole time. But now, I don't think the Lakers and Celtics are even remotely considered rivals to this day. I don't think they are. So, honestly, I think it's LeBron versus whoever he joins. And then the rest of the NBA, I think that's the rivalries. LeBron versus whoever he plays for versus everyone else. But back to the Saints. Long segue. I do not like the Saints. I'm a Buccaneer fan, so I have that rivalry. But trust me that when the Saints were at the peak with Drew Brees and everything, it was Saints every single week, every single season. It was the Saints. It was the Saints. It was the Saints. So this video, I might be a little hostile towards the Saints and try to keep my professional composure. But the Saints have always been a team that I dread. Even last year, the Saints still scare the living bejesus out of me. The Saints are the boogeyman for my Buccaneers. They are the team that no matter what they did, they always manage to beat us or some way. Because they have players that have great talent, great personalities, an ego, and a fan base just feels like, can you just go back to the paperback Aints days? Seriously, Drew Brees is gone. But I will admit there is some Louisiana lovely broadcast for ESPN locally that I watch their channels. I subscribe to their channels because hearing them bitch and moan and complain makes me feel so good about my slow self-esteem and my incompetent depression. So I do enjoy the Saints losing because it makes me feel better. But trust me, even the Saints are 0-10 and they play Tampa, I will be that one guy saying if the Saints beat the Bucs for some reason, I'll be like, it's just the way it is. The Saints somehow beat Tampa more times than any other team in our division. And I accept that. Hell, they beat us twice until we won, beat them in the playoff, and then we won a Super Bowl. The Saints are that team. So after a long segue, the Saints. They got Derek Carr, and they literally became the big ball energy of the entire NFC South. That pretty much everyone was just saying, the Saints, oh my leads, of course you're going to win the division again. Of course, Derek Carr, he's coming in. He's going to save our future. We are screwed. Yeah, it was Derek Carr. It was Derek Carr everywhere. And I couldn't blame him because as a Buccaneers fan, when Brady was gone, I was thinking, we need to get Derek Carr. Because for some reason, I was a mental genius to think that Derek Carr was a savior. To the point that the Saints are now regretting their decision. They are frustrated among themselves to the point where they're thinking, if Derek Carr sucks again, he's gone. We can have some leverage with the contract. But what happened to Derek Carr is, all right, you know, just 500 plus, 9-8 like he was this year. Then what? can always go better. I mean, Derek Carr is getting the same type of publicity that Kirk Cousins getting in Atlanta. That we kept thinking, oh my God, they got Derek Carr. Oh my God, they Kirk Cousins. And then there are very smart people on ESPN. Very few of them. And a lot of them happen to be the people that get the less screen time, but get the most knowledge. You know how weird that is? And they'll say, when did Kirk Cousins and when did Derek Carr suddenly become, you know, Tom Brady, the Matthew Stafford, the Peyton Manning, the players that have played for a team for so many years, go to a new team and they're thinking, oh, it's Super Bowl, get the banners ready. No. Kirk Cousins is still a great statistical quarterback, but he hasn't done anything, so I'm just not going to even give the Falcons any credit. And the Saints, they have Derek Carr, and to be honest with you, was it really? I mean, Baker Mayfield did better, and Baker Mayfield was considered worse, and he did better than you guys. And you can't have to admit that Baker Mayfield beat you. Now, we won the division and reasons. I mean, no one's really great. The NFC South still is terrible at division, but it could be better next year. We don't know. I don't know. Derek Carr second year, Baker second year, Kirk Cousins and his phantom status as a great quarterback is coming in, and the Panthers will be last place. So there you go. Your best game, New Orleans. Your best game was Week 8 versus Indianapolis. I think that was your best game. Now, I can see some people saying, what about the matchup against your Buccaneers? Maybe you're such a biased hater that you don't want to admit that the game against the Buccaneers was the best game. You're right. That could be considered the best game because their backs are against the wall and they, fought their way back. And I can see that. I can easily see that type of argument there. But the game against the Colts showcased not much of a desperate. I mean, there were 500 at the end of the game, but there was the game that, at least to me, showcased this is the Saints. You thought we were gonna have Derek Carr was playing phenomenal. The defense was rocking. The players were showcasing, what we expect. Like, this was the team. This is the game that made this debate. At least some people, and even me, thinking, crud, the Saints are back. They spend the first 8 games of the season trying to get their stuff together, trying to get the right chemistry together, and they finally got it. And Derek Carr throws for 300 plus, 2 touchdowns, and they just flex. They flex to themselves, and they showcase the passion that we all thought they were going to have. So to me, that was their best game. It showed that they got every impact around. Now, granted, Gardner Minshew was also quarterback there, so you probably can't say that. But even then, it was the best game because every aspect of the Saints was successful. It really potentially put a narrative that the Saints could win this division. With Atlanta and Tampa falling off, the Saints could literally take this division away from them now that they got themselves, right-minded. They had chemistry. Like, the potential was so there that it just felt like it's going to be now. The Saints are going to run away with the division, and Derek Carr is going to rejuve his career, and the Saints are going to win the division for the next 3 or 4 years, and then we'll figure things out when the time comes. But right now, that was the plan. Sadly, it didn't work out that well. But for right now, for best game, Week 8 versus the Colts, to me, is their best game. Your worst game, because we all do worst game. Now, the worst game, I decided to go with a division foe. Especially after you guys lost. Now, I could have put the Vikings game. You lost to Joshua Dobbs, who has been a journeyman quarterback more than Odysseus. So, Atlanta. Division foe. You had a chance to beat a division foe. Put yourself a good game above Tampa and definitely Atlanta. And then, it was a game. I mean, you had that embarrassing loss to the Vikings. And people were just ignoring, like, hey, it's okay. You were just surprised. It happened. I get surprised. You get surprised. We all get surprised. It's okay. I don't blame you. You lost to Atlanta. Son of a... You lost to Atlanta. The thing is that, look at the stats. Desmond Ridder had less than 170 yards, 2 interceptions. Derek Carr had 300 yards, 1 interception. But for some strange reason, you guys had 444 yards of offense. You guys had, time possession lead. Yes, you're on the road, but division foes. You know how to beat the Falcons. You always beat the Falcons. Say, what's up with my mic? My mic keeps falling. My placement's not there. So Ridder, who is clearly worse than Carr, had a bad day, but somehow they won. Bijan Robinson didn't have 100 yards. Yes, he had 90 yards rushing. Kamara didn't really do anything well. Chris Olave had over 100 yards. So what happened? A lot of drives inside the Falcons territory resulted into field goals instead of touchdowns, and sadly, that is how some teams do lose. You get inside the red zone, you get inside the 30, and for whatever reason, you can't punch in the end zone, and you got to settle for 3 instead of 6. And that pretty much was the game. You guys looked good statistically, but when it came to current execution, you guys couldn't get the touchdowns that you needed. You got at least half of those field goals into touchdowns, you would have won this game easily, and then I would have picked another game you would have been the worst of. But this was a game of opportunity to control the division, to beat division foe, and to pretty much showcase that the Saints are still good, and you didn't. And became a whole nother week of what the Saints going to do. Is Dennis Allen going to be fired? Is Derek Carr the answer? And just misery for a whole week, which made me feel happy. But yeah, you didn't execute, and that's what happened. That's why. So, the Saints MVP, I'm giving it to Chris Olave, this young, very still young receiver, and with the impact of Michael Thomas's, he's absent. Michael Thomas is not showcasing his stats. I mean, Michael Thomas was only playing 10 games. He didn't even have 450 yards receiving, only 1 touchdown. Chris Olave, had 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns, and almost 13 yards of reception. A young receiver, proven it, and with all the criticism about Derek Carr, Chris Olave still proved to be a man that comes in and does his job well. It is a shame that Michael Thomas could not, be even 80% of what he was great at one point, and then just disappeared. Like, seriously, is it mental? Is it physical? Is it psychological? Did he kick a black cat and broke a glass mirror and shredded a 4-leaf clover? Like, what happened with Michael Thomas? I don't know, but it just feels like if Chris Olave had 1,100 yards, you just feel like, well, then what did Michael Thomas get? Barely 450. Really? He only played in 10 games. Huh. It just feels that as close as the Saints were to winning the division, you just feel like if Michael Thomas would have played, remotely to his potential, like I said, 80%, 70% even, that could have led to 2 or 3 more wins for the Saints, and they probably would have won the division with 11 or 10 wins, and they would have gone to the playoffs of the Bucs. Simple as that. Simple math. So, but Chris Olave, literally playing handicap in the receiving core, is why I give him MVP. He's a young receiver. He's going through different quarterback situations right now, but maybe, the chemistry with Derek Carr could flourish. To me, I feel like he's still the best player for the Saints. He's still the best player for any of the wide receivers. For me, he is my MVP. Now, what is the Saints' grade for a team that went 9-8 and was just barely out of this, barely missed the division and the playoff spot? All the stuff I just said about them, what is their grade? Believe it or not, I'm giving the Saints a D. Why? Because they had something that no one else in the division had. Carolina sure as hell didn't. Atlanta maybe had it, and Tampa was so far kicked to the curb that they thought the Panthers would have been better. They had expectations. And when you take expectations and add it to what it was, and you don't even remotely reach it, it costs you at least 1 letter grade. Okay, so you letter grade. Performances against certain opponents, like the Joshua Dobbs, Atlanta Falcon game, that's another letter grade. You failed to execute. That's just, you're at a C. You're at a C right now. And the reason why you're a D is because you didn't win the division, and the Bucs did, a team that had no expectation, that had a potential win total of 5, and they surpassed you. So that's why you get a D. You failed to execute, you failed to perform, and you failed what ESPN and $15,000 suits thought you guys were going to be. So that's 3 letter grades off. A, B, and C, you're down to D. Congratulations, New Orleans, you are a D. That's the price, and that's the weight on your shoulders for having expectations. And that's the Saints. So, what do you think about next year? I'm still scared. The Saints still scare me, and until they start, losing every week, I wouldn't still be afraid of them. And that's why I hate them, because they're my nightmares. So that's the Saints, and they keep on marching into another mediocre season with their staff, but I'll enjoy it. So, 2 down and 2 to go. So who's the next team we're going to talk about? Well, I think I've been talking down about them enough, so let's give them the credit they deserve. Next time, we are talking about the Dirty Bird, the Atlanta Falcons, who got Kurt, my cousin Vinny, to play for them, and their Raheem Morris is back. Just so many old friends coming together. And we'll talk about them next. So until then, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you very much for watching.